Let's all read the chat. This guy says, Slurgi, who falls for your shit? Because it was all obvious. He's talking a little bit of trash at the beginning of the game, saying, I tried some trick stabs on him, they failed. He goes on to say that if you fell for him, you're a retard. You know, typical nonsense that you hear a lot. Now what I've noticed is that there's two different types of people that perpetuate this misconception. One, spies who learn about trick stabbing, but don't know anything else about spying. And the other are the opponents that go up against those spies that only know how to trick stab. And when those two players meet, something happens. The spy fails, the other player's ego grows, and both of those players go on to perpetuate the myth that trick stabs don't work on better players, they're a gimmick. Now this isn't the first guy that said stuff like that, I hear it all the time, and those players always get trick stabbed, and I might as well throw in this guy getting a piece of humble pie. Their skill level doesn't matter, how confident they are doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if they see him coming, none of that matters because there's ways to marginalize all that, and that's what I'm going to teach you in the video. Now all these concepts are really important. A lot of people think that I just go for the most crazy stuff and see what works, and that's half right, but the other half of that is I incorporate these concepts which drastically increase the chance of a stab working. So let me break them down for you one by one. Now psychology is a battle of wits. It's who understands the other one better, who outthinks the other one first. I highlighted this next clip because it's 100% based off of psychology. I kind of go for an easy stab right here. Drop down, missed, try and go for an overhead, bam. Reflects me right off, tries to flare shot me. Now he's checking the top. Now that looks a little weird, doesn't it? I dropped down. Why did I do that? Let's go over my thought process. That's a miss, means nothing. The second he air blasts me though, he shows me his hand. Now I see he has quick reflexes, that means he's been playing a while, he air blasts, he flare shots, he knows what he's doing. I can kind of guess what he's going to do now. He's going to check the top probably. Because if he's been playing a while, he knows what a stair stab is, and I can use that against him. And instead of doing a stair stab, I drop down right on top of him, and as he turns to check the top, he did not expect me to be right there. So him expecting a stair stab worked against him in this case. This is a 100% psychological stab. I'll show you another one. Now here's something I do a lot. This is another psychological stab. Now my actual plan for this stab failed, but the concepts that I'm using to do this stab are what's important and what I'm going to go over. Now let's slow down and I'll explain exactly what I'm doing. Right here I'm waiting for him to catch up so we can get a glimpse of seeing the direction I'm moving. I'm not facing him because I don't want him to know. I don't want him to know that I'm waiting for him. Now I want to go back one more time and explain something else that's really important that I'm doing. The number one thing about these stabs is you have to be a master of deception at all costs. Do anything it takes. Right here I purposefully go up ahead before he even comes through to blind myself. I timed it in such a way though that I saw his foot a split second before he came through the door. Now it seems ridiculous that that was planned, but it is. And that's the kind of length you need to go to. Now if you go back and watch my other videos in slow motion, you'll see that I actually do this a lot. It's psychological because I'm doing all these things to trick him and make him believe something. And this is only the beginning of what it takes to marginalize the skill level of your opponents when doing these trick stabs on them. Now here's another 100% psychological stab, the last one I'll show you guys. You've seen this kind of stab before from me? Just the reverse fake out. But the question is, how did I know that was going to work and why did I try that? The simple answer is psychology. I saw that I jumped late, and I saw that the heavy had ample time to recognize and track me. There's also the fact that I know stair stabs are common knowledge, and any logical person would have turned around. Now that you know the first concept, let's go to the second one, feeling. This is the opposite of psychology. Now if you base these stabs off of visual cues and waiting until you see somebody or something like that, these are going to fail. Feeling stabs go off of intuition and go off of your game sense. Now this is really just ridiculous. Nobody would expect something like this at all, ever. I mean, in technical terms, this is like an improv stab into a reverse stair stab. But if I waited for the visual cue of actually looking at him, this would have been a fail stab. I put 100% faith into my game sense, and that's something you train over a long period of time. Eventually, though, doing these types of stabs based off your intuition will make your intuition stronger. It'll make your game sense stronger. Here's a stab you guys have seen before. Telestab. With the telestab, you have absolutely no room for error. I do not pay attention at all to this guy. I only pay attention to my intuition and my feeling. If you wait for visual cues or wait for him to move forward, you're going to screw it up. While feeling and intuition stabs are the most ridiculous, they're also one of the most rewarding in terms of taking your spine to the next level because they work without conscious thought connected to them. Your hands program themselves to work by themselves. And that's all I have to say for feeling stabs. I just want you guys to be aware of them and go for them. You know, a lot can be said about movement and it's well beyond the scope of this video. I'll probably do another video just on movement because it's so important. You know, movement comes in many different ways. The first, I want to show you an escape example, how I move when I'm escaping. And Pyros often ask me how I was able to get away. And I'm going to show and explain exactly how I do it. Now this is just the same clip from my perspective, but let's slow this part down and see what's happening. Now the first strafe is to throw the pyro off and buy me some time to pick up the health. Once I pick up the health, I don't turn around to look, I just move backwards. And what that does is, it saves me split seconds to get away. If I were to turn around and look before I moved, I would have died. Often turning and looking is a waste of time. It's more convenient, but it slows you down. Now this kind of stuff sounds like bullshit, but it's not. Here's another clip where I do the same thing, and I actually go backwards all the way until I get out of the room. This not only allows me to save time, but it also allows me to keep my eyes on the pyro to see exactly what he's thinking. Now two things happened simultaneously here. I escaped and I also watched the pyro long enough to understand where he's going to go next. Now what I've shown you is just the tip of the iceberg for movement. Other things were happening like strafing and jumping, so let's look at a couple examples of those. When I realized the pyros see me, I turned back as if to run away, but instead, I jump to the side and then strafe into the position I want. The thing I want to highlight here is the actual strafe. Now this is the angle that I start the jump at. This conveys to the other person that a stair stab is impossible. But not only is this not impossible, it's premeditated, and it's practiced. One of the most underappreciated and underpracticed forms of spying movement is actual jumping. In this game you can exploit the fact that damage propels you. In this clip I literally jump off of a supercell. Now to finish off the movement section, I'm going to show you one last clip from my stream, and I'm going to leave the commentary in that I did. Now that was really good movement because I jumped and then I stopped, and he turned as he saw me jumping because he thinks I'm going to jump over. But when he turned, I was right here because I stopped and I got a side stab. Let's see if I can practice the hitting thing with this better. Now what the hitting thing is somebody on my stream asked me how they can improve their movement, and I told them, I told everybody on my stream to come into a Dead Keep server and try their hardest to hit me. This is the first person I tried it on. I didn't screen anybody could have come in. It took him 9 swings. See, he can't hit me. I'm in melee range, but he can't hit me. Now a mistake that a lot of players make is they track you too precisely. And if you track somebody too precisely, then it's going to be very easy to juke them. Now the point of this is to practice your movement. You want to get close to somebody, you want to get them precisely tracking you, and you want to juke them with your strafe key. At almost every point in his attempt to hit me, he exposed his sides to me. Now probably 6 out of 9 of those times that he tried to hit me, I could have executed a side stab on him, aka a matador stab. And this is exactly how matador stabs are done. They're based off of the tracking of your enemy, but the tracking of your enemy is based off of how you're moving. Now what a tension stab is, or the concept of tension, is that when you're blind, the longer you're blind, the higher the success rate of the stab. This is a perfect example from Deadly Mix. Here I purposely blinded myself to increase the success rate of the stab. Now this probably looks like a really tough stab, but it's not. I saw some comments saying it must have taken like 30 tries to do, but it took me 1 try, that was it. And it's because tension is a real thing. It's different from intuition. It's something that you practice over time and you become better at. You know, I've spent hundreds, maybe thousands of stabs trying different things. You know, if I can wait 2 seconds, 3 seconds, how long can I take? Can I wait 5 seconds? And what I've typically found is the longer that you're blind, the easier the stabs become, because if you look at it from the opponent's point of view, it's silly to think that 6 seconds later, this spy is going to know exactly where you are without having seen you. After about 1 or 2 seconds, it becomes improbable to people that you'll be able to predict that. And it's really tough, and that's really a logical assumption on their part, unless the spy that they're facing puts in the time and effort to practice this. Getting really good at spy takes conscious effort outside of just trying to replicate trick stabs that you've seen in videos. I hope this video helped you guys, and I will catch you guys later.